Buddy MG here, MG Covers, bringing you a brand new handicapping video. How to minimize risk in sports betting. We're going to give you two real life examples. Before we get into that, don't forget, if you haven't already, follow me on Instagram and Twitter under the profile screen name MG Covers, just spelled covers with a Z. I give out a ton of handicapping tips, a lot of insight in my storyline on Instagram. So if you're not following me there, you're missing out a lot. Probably 20 to maybe 30 storyline posts a day on Instagram. So don't forget to follow me there. So let's dive right into this. And what the whole premise of this video is, we're going to talk about minimizing risk in sports betting. It's something that a lot of people overlook, because generally when people wager, they always think in terms of how much money they're going to make if all three of these games win. If we go 2-1, how much do we win? But you have to run this like a business, which is how I run it. So anytime you make a wager or you're looking at your card for the day, you have to factor in risk. And what I'm going to do in these two examples is show you how to minimize that risk. So this is I love using real life examples because they're relevant. So why show you a made up example when I can show you a real example that's actually relevant to the whole topic behind the video. So this is example number one. This was from this past weekend in NFL. If you're looking over here on the left, these are my power rankings for NFL. I use a combination of different stats. I'm not going to get into that in this video, but this is how this is called my stat model. There's two parts to handicapping. I just don't handicap games based on that. I just wanted to disclose that. I also use situational angles as well. But let's look at my power rankings for this past weekend. So my first step is I'm assessing value when I'm looking at these games. The first game I looked at was Seattle. We had Seattle to 312. They were facing the Cleveland Browns. Seattle was the underdog, even though we had Seattle as the favorite. So that was a game that we wrote down to consider. Next game we had that we looked at was New Orleans, 308 power ranking. They were playing the Jaguars, 304 power ranking for Jacksonville. Again, same situation there. New Orleans was the underdog, and we had New Orleans as the favorite. Let's go to the next screenshot here. Houston had a power ranking of 301, and this was our huge one for the week. Kansas City, we actually had Kansas City as the underdog, and just FYI, our power rankings had Kansas City as the underdog last week against Indy as well. And I'm going to talk about how you can subscribe to the power rankings a little bit later in the video. So let's get back focused here. Houston, we had as the favorite. You look here, the Jets. This was a huge upset. Our power rankings had Jets as the favorite. On the road facing Dallas Cowboys. Now, or was that at home? Doesn't matter. Can't remember. But anyway, so those were the four games that we were considering, right? And you have to understand this. I want you to think about this. Even though we know the outcome of these games, when you are handicapping, you don't have the luxury of looking forward in time and being able to see the results of the game. So this is all we had when we were handicapping. We had these four games as potential plays for the week in NFL. Now, so that's four games. So I know this is elementary, but you're going to have to follow along because this is all going to provide context to the point that I'm going to make. So if we play all four of these games, we are risking 4 units total, assuming we're wagering all dogs. In this case, we would. Now, if we were playing the spread lines, we would, let's say the spread line, the juice was minus 110, we would be wagering 4.4, risking 4.4 units. Again, when you are placing wagers, you have to consider your risk. So what that means is, if all four of these teams lose, and that is always a possibility, we are down 4 units. And if we're playing them on the spread line, we're down 4.4 units, okay? So, from my perspective, going into week 7, actually that's incorrect. This is going into week 6, my bad. Small error there. We were 14-9, up 8.26 units. So, my goal for the entire NFL season is 10 units. And what that means is for each sport that I wager on, I have a specific goal. Again, I run my sports handicapping like a business, which is the way you should be running it if you're wagering it, and most people do not. So the good news for me is we had a great preseason. We've off to a pretty good start. So we're now, at this point, when I was considering these games, I was only less than 2 units away from my actual goal for the entire season, and it's only, middle of October. So that's great. So when I factor that in, if, again, I mentioned this before, if we wager on all 4 of those games, which would be 4 units, in essence, I'm risking half of my entire NFL bankroll on this one card. So we're at 8.26 units. Let's say I play all 4 of these games. I lose all 4 of those games. Now I'm down to 4.26 units, which takes me further away from my goal. Okay? So what actually went down was I actually wagered Seattle and New Orleans. And of course, we won those 2 games, which is great. And I know you're saying, but if you'd have wagered all 4, you would have won all 4. You don't know that when you're wagering the games beforehand. You don't have the insight to go back and wager after you watch the games. I know that sounds dumb and sort of redundant to think about, but it's just the facts. So let's assume I didn't win and I lost those 2 games. Now I'm only down those 2 units, so I would have been down to 6.26 units on the season, and now still, because it's October, the middle of October, I would still be only 4 units away from my goal. So this is a great way to minimize risk with simply playing fewer games. It's something people don't think about. So if you're looking at, say you're struggling and you've got maybe 5 games you're considering, you might want to narrow it down to pick the best game, the one game that you like the best, that you think has the best chance of covering or winning. And again, the way to assess that, look at it. So if you play all 5 games, potential risk, you could lose all 5 units. If you risk 1 unit, the absolute worst thing that can happen is you lose that 1 unit. So it seems like a given, but to minimize risk in any sport, wager fewer units, make fewer plays. It's a very good strategy. All right, so let's move on. Let's move on to the second example. It's going to come from the Soccer Brazil A League. And if you're watching this video currently, this is actually going to be a free play for tomorrow, October the 16th, 2019. All right, so these are my power rankings for this particular game we're looking at. It's CSA is a soccer team from the Brazil Series League. Atletico MG is the team that they're facing. CSA is at home, and CSA has a positive goal differential of +3. So the way I handicap and interpret that is CSA is a very small favorite. A +3 goal differential will translate into a 51 to 52% chance of winning. So CSA is a favorite, albeit a very small favorite. So normally for me, this would not be a play. We would want to have at least a 5-point goal differential in order for a play. However, when I went to look at this line, CSA was listed at +215. Okay, so one way to look at it is simply, okay, the CSA is the favorite. We have them at a 52% chance of winning. Let's say we wager, say you're a $100 player, you wager $100. If they win, you win $215, which is great, right? Basically double your investment. However, when you factor in CSA only has a small favorite, a small chance of winning, and when you consider the line is +215, a way we can minimize the risk is we can lower our unit size. And if you look at this example over here on the left, I actually sent this play out to clients. You can risk for a $100 player using this particular book. You can risk $46 to win 100. So we're actually risking less than half a unit. But if we win the game, we are actually going to win a one full unit. So this is a great example of a way to minimize your risk, especially when you have a team that's a favorite, but when you look at the line, they're a huge dog. So, granted, we could play a full unit, but again, we're running a business here. So if we lose this game, we're only going to lose less than half a unit. That's nothing in sports betting, okay? So this is a great example. This situation will come up a lot. Those of you that follow me, you remember back in the baseball season, Detroit played Houston. Verlander was on the mound. The line was Detroit plus 448, and we actually played that line plus 448, but we only wagered 1/10 unit. So we wagered 1/10 unit for a $100 player. That would be $10 with the potential to win. Am I saying this right? Yeah, $44. So we only risked a 1/10 of a unit to win almost a half a unit. So that was another example of doing just the same thing I just went over. So there's two strategies that you can do to minimize your risk in sports betting. Number one is very simple: play less games. The less games you wager, the less you will risk. The more games you play, the more risk you bring into play. Anything can happen in this business, so you have to be smart. And again, this situation, you can lower your unit size. And so when you're putting this into a sports book, you just put the actual amount you want to win, and it will factor in your risk amount. All right, so that's out of the way. We have a huge special. Before we go, all picks, all sports, $199. That is for 6 months. It's normally $49.95 a month, and if you pay that out for 6 months, that'd be $300. So that's $100 savings, and you're going to get that offer expires this Sunday night, October 20th, 2019. Again, all sports for all picks for all sports, which currently includes NFL, football, NHL. Did I say college football? And then NCAA basketball when it starts up, hockey. And currently, this past weekend, we had a huge run. It was unheard of. We went 8-1, up 8.59 units. I'm going to show an example of a client that joined right before he went on this run, which was great. Those of you that would like the power rankings that you've heard a lot of buzz about those lately, you can get power rankings. It gives you the ability to set your own lines. So you can take my power rankings and create lines for the game, so you can become very educated and use that to wager, especially if you have basic handicapping knowledge. That's $19.95 a month. There's a link in the profile to sign up for that. Just click the link, and then when you go to, I believe it's join, you can either click 6-month membership or click join on Power Rankings. Power Rankings, actually, you can join for $1 for 3 days, and then it's $19.95 a month continuously after that. Cancel anytime. All right, we're going to show you these client testimonials. I realize now how important this is. I get DMs daily from people that send me stuff that's very sketchy from other handicappers, and so I'm going to start doing more of this. I actually have clients that if you want actual references, if you want, hey, I want references from 3 people that have done business with you that are current clients, I can give you that. If you're thinking about joining here, these are some screenshot examples. I'm going to read these. This one client, currently on 11-1 run in sports. He played some other games this weekend as well. Absolutely unheard of for me anyhow. Hooking up with MGCovers has been one of the best things I've done when it comes to handicapping. This guy lives and breathes this blank. I kind of scratched that out. I'll leave that for your interpretation. The next one's pretty funny. He mentions an actual game we had, a match we had in soccer that I sent out. He played it at plus 280, and it was actual winner. But he sent me this screenshot. It says, "What a blank week and weekend." This is so important. Look, watch this. I love this. He said, "I made my entire money back on my subscription and up $800. So for the weekend, he was able to pay for his entire subscription and still make a profit. and the whole premise of how I'm sorry about the text there, doing my business is I'm trying to keep it very affordable for people so that you can still join, get access to the picks, and still make a profit. So a lot of handicappers, you'll see them charge, $295, $299 a month. So you can join. If you didn't want the special, you can still join for $49 a month. So it makes it very affordable, and you can stick around long term, which is the key to winning in sports betting. So I hope you guys like that video. How about the heart this time? So if you liked it, click like. If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. I love putting out content. If there's a video that you would like to see me do a video about, post that in the comments below. Check us out on the website, MGCovers. Hope everybody has an awesome and profitable week. Talk to you soon. Peace.